Hello, and thank you for your interest in Marketcetera. I'm Tolu Kuznets, and today I will show you how to run the strategy agent with prepackaged sample scripts. In the previous Marketcetera videos, we've seen how to run strategies inside Photon, our strategy studio. While Photon is perfect for doing rapid prototyping for strategies as they're being developed, the strategy agent allows you to scale your strategies out, to run them on multiple machines, and to create more complex data flows between the different strategy modules. In this example, we will go over running the sample strategies shipped as part of Marketcetera on command line. These strategies live under the strategy agent folder in the installation directory and are split into the command files that set up the strategy environment and the strategies themselves. Out of the box, we ship with the following sample strategies, and the corresponding Ruby scripts for them live under the script subdirectory. Let's run the same Hello World sample we went over in the earlier video. You run the strategy agent from the command prompt, so we'll switch to that window. Notice that I've installed it in the default location of Program Files, Marketcetera, version of Marketcetera strategy agent. You don't need to worry about setting up the environment variables. The installer does that for you. And when you invoke the strategy agent command, it sets everything up for you. Let's run our first strategy. The strategy agent script lives in the bin directory, so strategy agent.bat. The sample command script lives in samples, commands, hello world. We're specifying the hello world command file, and that command file describes what modules to start and what data flows to create. Notice that on the console you have the output of the strategy when it runs. We'll look through the command file in a second, but you notice that it first created the module with a certain set of parameters, and then it started that particular module, and now we have output, and our hello world strategy said hello world, which is expected. The log for the output goes to the logs directory, which you can find under strategy agent logs. If you open it up, you will see the output in the log itself, and you will also see all of the debugging information that you printed out. The log is a very useful place to look at for when you're debugging errors in your strategies, for example. So let's close this, and you can stop the strategy with Control-C. Let's now take a look at the commands file itself. So let's go back to the text editor. The commands file for Hello World consists of two lines. We first create the strategy module on this line, create module line, and then we start it on line 10. Notice that when you were running the same strategy in Photon, you did not have to do this. Photon does all of the module creation and starting automatically when you register the strategy. But for the strategy agent, you can wire different modules together yourself. Marketcetera has a modular framework where everything is treated as a module. The market data adapter is its own module. Complex event processing is a module. Each strategy that you run is its own module. And you can certainly write your own additional custom modules to process incoming data, such as a pricing module that can sit between the market data adapter and your strategy, for example. You can also wire all of these modules in any way you want by creating different data flows between them. And the strategy agent is the place to do that, and it allows you the full flexibility of setting up data flows between different modules and different variations. Looking over this commands file, in this particular example, we create a module called Hello World. So the name is here. This is a Ruby strategy. The Ruby file itself lives under the samples scripts directory. We are not passing any additional parameters to it, which is this empty space between the two commas. And the strategy is not wired to send orders to the ORS. And the output of the strategy goes to sync, which is why you saw all of the output in the log. So the first line creates the module and the corresponding data flows, and this last one starts the module. The actual Ruby strategy file that we used, you can take without any modifications and run it inside of Photon, for example. You can create your strategies inside Photon, you can get them to work, you can iterate over them, but when you're ready, you can move them out to the strategy agent, and then you can create a command file that creates all of the data flows between them. Let's look at the next sample, which will be the market data sample. It's very similar to the example we used in the previous instructional video. This uses a market data adapter module in addition to the strategy module. So if you look at the commands file for the market data example, we see the same line that creates the strategy module. The new one is we're starting a new Marketcetera market data adapter module, and then we're also starting the strategy itself. If you look at the market data script, you will notice that when we request market data, we use the same name for the market data module as what we created. And then we just subscribe to a list of symbols, in this case, Amazon and Java. And we request the market data here with this request market data call. And then afterwards, we just print every ask, bid, and trade that comes in. So let's run this sample. Very similar. Bin strategy agent.bat. Specify the commands file. Marketdata.txt. The system starts up. It gives you a list of all of the steps that it's taken to initialize. So it created the strategy module. It started a couple of other modules, the market data module and the strategy module itself. And now you can see all of the market data events coming in. So let's stop this. So that's all very simple. With the next step, make this a little bit more complicated and introduce complex event processing into the mix. So we will look at the processed market data sample strategy. If you look at the processed market data command file, you will notice that it looks very similar. We create the processed data strategy. We start a market data module. In this case, we're using the bogus market data module. And then we start the market data strategy. So it doesn't even look like we are doing anything with complex event processing. The reason for that is when you switch to the strategy itself, you will notice that it looks very similar, but we're now introducing the complex event processing query. And if you remember from the previous video, what this does is creates a position on the fly, so it looks at the price and the size of the trade and then runs it through complex event processing, which in this case is a very simple, essentially SQL query that pre-computes the position from the other two fields. The interesting point here with complex event processing is that we use a special request processed market data call. This is something that's available to you as a strategy writer from the strategy API. And this call creates the appropriate data flows between the market data adapter module, the complex event processing module, and the strategy module. So you don't have to do anything by hand in the commands file. All of this is done for you behind the scenes by the Marketcetera strategy framework. So all of the complexity is taken out. Again, the callback here is on other. Remember, for market data, there was on bid, on ask, on trade. When results come back from the complex event processing module, they come back to you on the on other event, unless you specifically do something like select star from bid, in which case those will also come in on the bids. So let's run this particular example. Process data. And what we're expecting is that for the symbols that we specified, we will get the symbol and the position as calculated coming from the trade. So notice that here we have an event that comes in and we have the position and the symbol. So let's stop this. So you should run all of the samples yourself. They're very easy to run. When you're comfortable with that, you should start modifying the strategies, run them as well through the strategy agent, and then you should look through the documentation in strategy agent section. If you go under usage, you will see all of the syntax for the commands file, so you can look into all of the parameters you can specify to create module, start module, and most importantly, create data flow. So thank you again for your time, and thank you for your interest in Marketcetera, and I hope that you will try running strategies yourself, and most importantly, I hope you will author strategies and use Marketcetera. Thank you.